TikTok, it's time to rock. It's the 5150 show. It's the Sunday show. I'm here with myself and the Rock Professor. We were supposed to have a very good friend of us join us, but he's absent without leave. So you guys will just have to bear with us again while Simon and I, while we will always do the best. We'll try and fill the gap for Brad, the backdoor man cook.
Where is he? Hold on a sec. Don't do that.
We'll let the Rock Professor do what he needs to do, and I'm going to continue talking until he's got all that sorted. But guys, we want to do a special shout out to our co-host, 1/3 of the cake, 1/3 of the pie, our friend Brad Cook. How are you, brother?
Yeah.
What's happened to the Rock Professor? He's frozen.
Sorry, I haven't frozen. I'm
He's not frozen?
About.
He's messing about.
It's now not on my headset, which is weird.
Okay, it's okay. We can hear you, though.
That's right.
We can hear you. That's the most important thing.
Hearing me is the most important thing. It's just, as you know, I like to...
You get that sorted. Hey, guys, so happy Mother's Day. Obviously, that's a big one because we're all products of mums. Unless you're like some of my friends who just dropped here from somewhere.
Under the floorboards or something.
But we're all products of mums, so obviously we've got to do a special shout out to, obviously our mums and anybody else's mum that's on the channel. I want to do a special shout out. It's Helene's birthday weekend. She turned 29 yesterday. So it's still in my family. The birthday gets celebrated for 7 days. we milk it for 7 days.
Well done.
Yeah.
I'm impressed by that.
Ever since I was a kid, yeah. So I always try and pass on that tradition to other people. Rock Professor, are you getting it all sorted? We can see you. He's pointing at us. He's fingering us. He's making sure we're all here in line. Can't hear you, Rock Professor. Can't hear you, brother.
I know, because my mic's on mute. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. We can hear you now. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Oh. Come on. That's fine. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do this a bit. It's Skidoo. Right.
Reminds me of the early days when we had 5 subscribers, Simon, when we were doing this.
5 subscribers. Those were the days.
Yeah, Helene. Don't we all wish that we were 29? My gosh, I'm with you. I'm with you there. Who? Someone famous said something. Youth is wasted on the young. Who said that? Somebody. While the Rock Professor is busy doing that, guys, I'm going to do a special shout out to some guys that were on the channel back in March. 2 awesome guys responsible for producing this book here. Fleetwood Mac in Chicago, 1969. Jeff and Bob were on. This book is going to be available for purchase in October. So if you guys aren't aware of it, I will attach the link for you to go and pre-order that book. When that book drops, these two awesome guys are going to come back and join us on the channel and talk about the book when it's in our hot little hands. So we look forward to that. Check that out. Simon, are we ticking and are we talking?
I don't think it's going to work.
Oh, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
No.
That's awesome.
Everyone can see and hear you, except nobody can.
Yeah, no, we can hear you.
This is driving me scatty.
We can hear you.
I'll put it on speaker.
So while the Rock Professor's busy sorting
that,
Rock Professor, are you there? Are you ticking and are you talking?
I don't know. I'm ticking, but not talking. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, fine, good. Okay, I'll do it like that then, without headphones at all.
Awesome. That's fantastic. George Bernard Shaw said that. Thank you, Johnny Heartbreaker. I knew somebody in the chat would know that. And I tell you what, the older I get, the more that statement makes sense. My gosh. My gosh. Look, guys, thank you very much also for joining us. We have some channel memberships set up. It'd be really, really cool if you guys could join us on our channel levels. We've got 2 levels to the channel. Go and have a look there, join it. Anything that you guys do to support the channel will go back to the channel. We'll have monthly draws. We promise. We promise to do that. It'll be something really good for the channel. And we look forward to that, don't we, Rock Professor?
Yeah. Prize. Well, I think yes. Yes, prizes. We're allowed to say that, or giveaways, or something. Or it's got a lot of rules around them, aren't there? I don't know.
I think we can say giveaways. Giveaways. Yeah. I think that's the technical term. We can do giveaways.
That's right.
Awesome. Rock Professor, so I've done a couple of important things. I know you've got a couple of things that you need to say, so maybe this might be a good opportunity.
Yeah. I would like to pass on my condolences and thoughts to Desiree Dornan, wife of Dave Nestle, who Dave sadly passed away this week. Bastion of the EVH community, I think, for all of us. I mean, he's one of the first people. Him and Johnny were the first people I came across doing live shows like this on the YouTube about 5 or 6 years ago. Just talking in general, and the thing that struck me, I think probably the way that it struck everybody, was Dave was really serious about guitars and about passing that knowledge on. And I think that was the teacher in him. He had all that knowledge, and he worked clearly in Manny's in New York, and other guitar shops as well. Guitar Center, I think he did for a bit. And clearly had amassed all this knowledge about guitars, not the history, how to set them up, how to deal with them in every way. And he was anxious to pass that knowledge on. And so there was no question too difficult for Dave, no question that he wouldn't answer. I remember being amazed by how much he knew, and and his willingness to pass it on. There were no secrets with Dave, about guitars, stuff like that. He'd pass it all on, never kept it to himself, always wanted to pass it on. And I think that that's a lesson for us all, isn't it? Passing it on, passing the knowledge on to other people. So my condolences. I think he's a big loss, Dave, and to the community, and his drive to do that will be really missed, I think. So Sad
Yeah,
day.
well, it's a tragedy for the channel too, because we had him booked in for the end of May. That him and Rob Johnson were going to come on, and we'd been trying to get Dave Nestle on the show, ladies and gentlemen, for a long time. As the Rock Professor said, you know, he's a bit of a figure, especially in the EVH guitar community, and you know, he reached out to us, to be fair, and said, look, you know, he'd be keen to come on. You know, there were a couple of issues early on why he couldn't come on, and, you know, they weren't our issues and they weren't his, but, you know, time frames and time zones and continents always cause issues, don't they, Simon, with trying to organise things. And we always knew that Dave was a bit crook, you know, so he was always going to be available during certain times. But when he reached out and said that he was keen to come on and do the history of the Ernie Ball Music Man guitars with us, boy, we were excited. We only spoke to him, as I said yesterday, on the 5150 show with Hoss and Chris. You know, we were only speaking to him 2 or 3 days beforehand, and he was looking forward to jumping on. So the good news, Rock Professor and everybody in the chat, the good news is that Rob Johnson, who is another authority on EVH guitars,
and some
has committed to come on that same show, and we're going to turn that into another tribute for Dave, as well as talk about Ernie Ball Music Man guitars. So we look forward to that, Rock Professor.
Good, yeah. I think that's really good, you know, and a fitting place to do it as well, with Rob as well. He's one of his great mates, so that's really cool.
I was with him to the end. He was with him to the end, and that's you know, that's what mates are all about. Rock Professor, I've while you were doing your tech stuff, you know, I did a shout out to 1/3 of the pie.
Brad. Yep, I've been messaging him this week. Been annoying him by messaging him this week. Saying,
I'm the crust. I'm the crust of the pie. Simon is the base.
I'm the dish. Not sure that's true.
and Brad is the yummy filling.
Yeah, definitely the yummy filling. Yes. Oh dear. Oh, fantastic. He's doing all right. He's going to be going back to work soon on lights duties, so that's good.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Come along, yeah. He's got to do his physio and his stuff.
Awesome. I want to thank everybody in the chat too. We've got 8 people watching us live. We really appreciate the fact that you guys are actually joining us during the live streams. If you guys go back and have a look at the channel, if you want, some of our shows get really, really good views. More often than not, each show that we do, Rock Professor gets over 100 views, so we're always happy about that. We're always happy about the views, but we do appreciate the fact that you guys in the chat have been sharing our channel on your social media accounts. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. Did you say Happy Mother's Day, Mr. Walton?
Yes, we did. We did. We said, because we're all sons and daughters of mothers.
Oh yes, you made worryingly risque comments. Well, I'll say Happy Mother's Day, except to everyone in the chat, except clearly in the UK, which is not Mother's Day.
No. Well, the English are always a bit different, aren't they? Yeah.
It's part of EU exit.
And the part of the world that matters, it's Mother's Day.
What are the colonies?
Oh my Lord!
Listen, get him off.
So Simon's the dish. He's the bowl.
Yeah,
he's the bowl.
Elaine, you're very kind. I think Brad is the dish. Yeah, I'm the dish. The bit just at the bottom. Normally, that's where I am.
Oh my gosh!
I'm the Brad. I'm here to hold up the world.
Yeah. We look forward to him joining us. So, guys, we've got an interesting album to talk about. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up something that we've never done before on this channel. I'm going to bring up a Wikipedia article and just read through it with you, because one of the great things about this band is that they are very difficult to get information on. I and the Rock Professor have spent a week between us scouring social media and the internet to try and find information on Juicy Lucy. And there's not a lot out there. And the websites that do have information are repeating basically everything that's on Wikipedia, which is okay. And I haven't even got photographs to put up. And the reason why, because I don't know which version of Juicy Lucy
They are.
Because if you have a look here, and I'll just get rid of Helene's comment. Just give me a second there.
You see, Nelson's Nelson's review of this album is beer drinking, bar fighting, hell raising, down home music. There we are. I think that's a great. Well done, Nelson. That's it.
So if you have a look there, look at the past members. Look at the list of past members.
Quite a few.
Yeah.
Most famously, probably Mick Moody, who went on to be in Whitesnake, but with a snarky, as they call.
But just a little bit of information there, and then obviously it continues to, more of a contemporary version of Juicy Lucy, which is not really the album that we're going to talk about, which is the '69 release. Now, one of the reasons why I picked this album is, not to go, some obscure album, Rock Professor. The reason why I picked this album is because when you read about other established British electric blues bands, there's a couple of references to Juicy Lucy and the guitar player. So they have a bit of an effect on some of the established bands. And as we go through and rank some of the songs, these guys themselves were reflecting a lot of the music that they were listening to. But Rock Professor, maybe you want to share something that you saw on the back of an amp with people in the chat.
Oh yeah, and then I'll do a shout out to people in the chat. Yeah, I was. Who was it? Who sent it to me? Somebody sent me somebody sent me a link to a free half an hour free concert, as in Paul Rodgers and Simon Cossells, not a free concert. on the, I think it was on the BBC somewhere in Granada in the north, and the camera at the beginning, the camera zooms around the band and it zooms around the back of their amps, and on the back of their amps, I sent this to Andrew, was Juicy Lucy written on the back of them. I don't know whether they were on as well as free on that little half an hour stint, or whether they just borrowed their amps, or I don't know what it was, but it looked like they may have been on too. But I couldn't find any live stuff about it from that same thing. So.
No, I couldn't either. So I googled free Juicy Lucy, the gig too, just to get some information or maybe some footage on this band. So they are elusive, and what's really interesting, Rock Professor, is there is a couple of interviews with the guitar player of the band. Oh gosh, and the guitar player is
Ray Owens or Glenn Ross Campbell.
Oh gosh, hold on, Simon. Rock Professor, bear with me. What does it say there?
Neil Hubbard.
That's okay, right, correct. So what's really interesting on Neil Hubbard's interview, he does not mention Juicy Lucy at all. And on his website, there is no reference to Juicy Lucy at all. So it's almost as if he's closed the door on this really interesting chapter of his life, Rock Professor.
Yeah, but maybe he's only in him for a very short time, and and didn't think it was worth it. That's odd, isn't it? But it was just he thinks it's a minor, footnote in rock history, and didn't want to have anything. I don't know. Difficult to know what people's motivations are, isn't it? Can I do a quick shout out to the people in the chat whilst we're here?
Sure.
So, Tim Thomas, good morning, Tim. Nelson, of course, good morning, Nelson. And Gret Zeppelin. And we have John ZD351. Good morning, John. How are you? And Helene O'Hara, happy birthday, happy Mother's Day to you. He's still in Facebook jail. Getting out to Johnny Heartbreaker, of course. Morning, Johnny. I think that's everybody who's commented. So good morning, all. And thanks for dropping by.
Awesome. John ZD351 has an important task, and I want to take an opportunity to thank him on behalf of the channel. He's going to take a day off work, and he's going to, hopefully, if all goes well, stream the pre-show corner bar gig with Hoss and Fair Warning, and their contribution to EVH on the channel on the 19th. So, John, thank you, bro, for doing that. We certainly look forward to it, and we hope it works out well, brother.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say he was deputising for Brad in carrying Simon's cabs.
Well, at the end of the day, I don't care who really does that, but if someone's there with a camera filming for the channel,
Yeah, that's what it's all about. Never mind anything else.
I'm sure Hoss will get that all sorted.
Hoss is currently in the gym, bulking up to be able to do it.
The real bad news for John, though, is that Brad was going to buy all these drinks on behalf of the channel for people. So unfortunately, that has to pass to
passing the metaphorical wallet.
that has to pass to John. So I hope you're going to take a few dollars with you, bro, to buy a few beers for some people on behalf of the channel.
Yes, Johnny, it is something like 24 past members.
Yeah, phenomenal.
Not many people are admitting to it much either, but hey.
If anybody wants to do any research in the chat now, or who watches this on playback, on replay, if you know the version of Juicy Lucy that we are referencing for this album, and you want to pass on a pic of this particular version of the band, I'll be grateful. We'd be grateful if you could do that, and we could maybe attach that, use that as a thumbnail. I suspect the thumbnail that we're using, though, Simon, on this show, I suspect that is the correct one. I suspect it is.
I think that is too, but it's difficult to know. And I mean, it's in a sense, this is how rock was in 1970. You saw a name, and if you were lucky, you saw one picture of them. No, and even now we've got social media, and we've got Wikipedia, and we've got research facilities on. This is going back to the old days. You couldn't find anything else about it. You might find a small interview with them in the NME or the Melody Maker or something, and but but that would be about it, and you'd have to make a judgment about, or go along to your local record shop, and listen to the records to make any kind of judgment about it at all.
Yep.
Yeah, and if you were lucky, they came to you, and I presume that at some point Juicy Lucy did come to Bristol, but I don't remember seeing them. They probably were a support band. I don't remember seeing them supporting anybody, but yeah. That reminds me very much of the old days when there just wasn't any information. Not that I had the internet to look, but wasn't any information. Just had names, and you had, an album and some tracks to figure it out.
Yeah, well, I certainly look forward to doing a few more of these albums too, guys and girls in the chat. This archaeology that we used to talk about often earlier when we used to do a few of these albums. We used to use that word, didn't we, Simon, a lot? An archaeology on some of the not famous, not named bands. That certainly had an influence. And we've already done one. We did one last year with Blues Helping, and this is our second one. So we look forward to doing some of these obscure left field albums, which directly they have a relationship to British Electric Blues. I think if we kept that, we'll be doing fine. But I've got no photos, guys, to show. We love showing photos. I've got no information to give other than go to Wikipedia and have a look at Wikipedia. And as Johnny said, 24 past members. Holy cow. So
that is a revolving door policy, isn't it? People in, people out.
Yeah. What's really interesting, though, is that after listening to this, I've been listening to this album for about 4 years. Okay, guys, to be fair, but I did find one interesting review by a guy called Chris Thompson, who said, and I don't want to give it away, but I think it's important. He said that if only this band had stayed together, when you consider this was their first debut album, there are enough nuggets here to indicate that they could have gone somewhere. So it's a shame. But it's, again, I look forward to going through the tracks and obviously getting the Rock Professor's opinion. If anybody in the chat listened to the album, obviously put your rankings in if you have. That would be great. But I'm going to kick it off, guys, with the first song. The first song is Mississippi Woman. It's a nice song. I listened to it with my cans on this morning. You can hear the slide.
Yeah.
The slide there. The slide on the left channel. It's got some cool, gritty vocals, and the bass and drums work really, really well. In fact, it's surprisingly good. The mix is surprisingly good. In fact, I'm going to say it's probably exceptional. But I'm not surprised by that, because often the Rock Professor and I and Brad have had the privilege to talk about a lot of albums recorded around this time that were mixed really, really well. And this first track, Simon, indicates to me very, very clearly when I'm listening to the cans that this album is doing that. I love it. It's getting me going, Simon. I'm hooked. But at the 1:12 part of the song, when it comes in with that sax solo, I've got to tell you, it's a disappointing sax solo for me. There's no bottom end in the sax. In fact, I think the song would have been better suited, Simon, with a short little guitar solo instead of the sax solo. I think the song could have been a Brad scored song if it was just something as simple as that. And because they didn't do that, and because the sax on this part of the solo in particular, for me, doesn't have enough bottom end, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. And like I say, it could have been a Brad scored song, Rock Professor, if they'd just put in a little guitar solo.
That's interesting. I mean, the thing about the guitars, those two guitars, they play a lot of riffs, don't they? I mean, there's that almost constant interplay between the two guitars. It says in the thing, one of them is a steel guitar. I don't know whether they mean that or not, to be honest. It sounds like a slide guitar to me, not. But it does say in the thing, it says Glenn Ross Campbell plays a steel guitar. So I don't know whether that's. But I think the interplay between the two guitars is really good. That slide and then the more straightforward guitar. That's really cool, and that's a thing. I also think it's quite funky, isn't it? One thing I noticed about this record is that they're described as a blues rock band, although there's not not many of the tracks are what I would call traditional blues, are they? Is it 1/4/5 changes and stuff like that? They all have a much more kind of funkier kind of vibe to them in a way that sort of sets them apart. I think it's. I was amazed by this because I've not really heard this record before. I don't think, or if I did hear it in 1972, I left it in 1972 and didn't really pay any attention to them. I knew the name and I knew the album cover. I remember we used to have it in the record shop I worked in, but I don't really remember it. So it was great to come to it new and kind of live with it for a week, see how it struck me. I must say I didn't feel like that about the sax solo. I didn't notice anything particularly not much bottom end on it. I was listening to it mainly on Spotify. But as you say, with headphones on and stuff, I listened to it in the car as well quite a lot. That's one of my things. Listen to it in the car, and the car gives it a bit more bottom end, I think. So I didn't think it didn't have bottom end. I'd give it 8.5 out of 10, and never a skip. I think it's a really good opening track. As I say, got that funky stuff going on in it. And one of the two vocalists, he's got the gravelly vocalist, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, that becomes apparent later, through the songs that there's more than one vocalist in the band. It gets us on, ladies and gentlemen, to the second track, which, according to all the information I've read, was the album's single and did surprisingly well. And it's no surprise, because a lot of these English cats were picking a lot of covers. And there's a few covers on this album, and this is the first one. It's a famous song made famous by a guy called Bo Diddley. Who Do You Love? Been covered by a lot of people. Again, I love the way that they've got the nice right-hand channel with the lead licks, and then on the left-hand channel, and then on the right hand you've got the slide. Now, this is where it becomes apparent that it's not a slide guitar that they're playing, because some of the notes that they play in the solo octaves higher than what it would be on a guitar. So that's what gave it away for me. Initially, I thought maybe it was a guitar, but then you realise, it is a pedal, as the rock professor said in his introduction for the first song. So they are playing a pedal, and it works well. It works well in this rock and roll context. Could give Dwayne Allman a run for the money. But yeah, Simon, those slide notes for me are a standout. This song does not have the Bo Diddley beat, but that doesn't mean that it's not a great song. Fruitcake Tony, good to see you, brother. You are a champion. Thank you. Always a pleasure to see you in the chat. Look, it does not have the Bo Diddley beat, but that does not mean it's a great song. It's deserved its position in rock and roll history as a great interpretation, again, of an American blues song by British artists.
British bands, yes, absolutely.
and because of that, Simon, I have to give it a 9 out of 10. And certainly never a skip.
No, absolutely not. No, it's the old shave and a haircut, 2 bits. The rhythm of the Bo. I guess it is interesting that, isn't it? That although the Bo Diddley version doesn't have much of it either, I did check it out. It doesn't. It's one of the Bo Diddley songs that doesn't really have that Bo Diddley beat on it. But this is a much fuller version. I mean, I go back to what I said earlier. The production of the record, I think, is really good. It's really full, because they've got 2 guitars, and sometimes they have keyboards, bass drum, sax. So they've got lots of instrumentation to use, and they use them. And I really like the sound of this record. I think it's a really good sound. You can tell that they're in the days where not everything can be up the front, so that the drums tend to be a bit further back in the mix and stuff, which is my kind of memory of albums that were made in that time. That's how they were mixed. That's how they were done. But guitars split either side. Yeah, I think it's got that fierce guitar at the front, that wah wah. I presume it's a wah wah guitar at the front. Somebody's doing that, and yeah, it's got that high slide solo at the end, which is really good. I think it's a great version of it. I think the important bit is they make something of it themselves, don't they? They don't just take the Bo Diddley version and just recreate it. They make a different version of it and makes it much more their own, which I can see why it was a bit of a hit. Just about scraped the top 20, I think. So 9 out of 10 from me. Never a skip. Yeah, really good.
Awesome. And everybody in the chat that's listened to it seems to be on par with what we're giving it to. So that's fantastic. Guys, the next song, She's Mine, She's Yours. And surprise, surprise, we got that pedal slide going again. I'm not sick of it. I'm not sick of it at all. I love it. I think it's fantastic. You've got some horns coming in and the sax, an interesting set of vocals on this song. A lot higher in the register than the previous two songs. So clearly, either this guy is Axl Rose or an early version of Axl Rose, or it's another vocalist. So I'm going to probably go with another vocalist. Rock Professor, that slide pedal steel solo, to use what Brad would often describe, is really tasty. It's tasty. It's it sits really well in the mix for me. I love it. This song is the song where there's a bit of swing. There's a swing to this song. The previous songs, it's not there, but they're starting to swing a little bit. And the solo, the second solo with the slide and the lead guitar and the way that weaves Simon's fantastic. You can start to hear the lead guitar come through, and again, your interest is sort of perked up a little bit. Interesting song. There's a hidden track, cuts out for a little while.
Comes back,
and then it comes back, and it's basically an instrumental. It's fantastic. Guys, 10 out of 10. Love the song. Rock Professor.
Yeah, I think it's in that way, it's because they're having to, as I've said this a lot when we do these things, that the sounds you get are pretty much the sounds you have. There's not many pedals around in 69. There's not a whole lot of things you can do to change your sound completely. There's not kind of crazy reverbs and crazy choruses and crazy everything else to change up. It's very much so you have to find other ways of making it interesting. And I think that the sax horns things at the beginning is they introduced the sax in the first track, but this is where they have actually that horns kind of punctuation thing going on. Also, they have the organ as well. They have for the first time they have a keyboard. I don't remember there being a keyboard in the first two, but and that falsetto vocals, which gives a completely different vibe to the song. It's it's got that kind of, as you say, that kind of swing to it that the first two tracks don't have so much. And that the two guitars, the second guitar playing a solo under the slide, is really cool. And I think that's a feature of this, this version of the band, is that interplay between the two guitars, the slide, the pedal steel, and the thing. And he's very precise with the pedal steel, isn't he? It's quite often you don't know that he's not sliding into things. He's playing it as if you were playing fingers, which is really cool. So yeah, Yes, 10 out of 10 for me. Never a skip. I think this, it's a great track, and has has, as I say, they're developing their sound as they come into as they get into the record, which I think is really cool. And I think the other thing I'd say about it is that typical of groups at this time, never afraid of doing variety, never afraid of varying things, right up. The last track doesn't have to sound like the first track. It doesn't have to be a very homogenous sound. It can be as diverse as you like.
Awesome. Just one time.
Yeah.
Wow. Interesting acoustic intro, isn't it? And it's got the marimba, which just, wow, kind of blew me away when I'm listening to it on the cans. Just sits there really, really nice on the right. Brilliant lyrics. Go and check the lyrics out. This is and there are some really, really interesting songs later on too, but this is where it's starting to get interesting as far as the message that rock and roll and these blues guys were giving back in the late 60s, early 70s, Simon, when they were prophets, when they were speaking on behalf of a generation. So you're starting to get some meat on in that pie, the meat in the pie with this one. Go and check it out. The instrumental solo is wicked. It's laid back and it's groovy. At that 3:30 mark, you've got the guitar that comes in and it peeps and it hides through. It peeps and it's just, again, it's very interesting. It's an interesting song. Simon, I was teetering and tottering, as the Americans say. Here in New Zealand, we call it seesawing on whether or not I'm going to give it a 9 or a 10. You know what? I'm going to give it a 9. This far from being a 10, but I'm going to echo what you said previously.
You can go 9.75.
A band that's not frightened to try different elements of music that fits in the package. So I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. Certainly, definitely not. Never a skip. Hey, Mitch,
No.
Good to see you, brother.
Mitch, how you doing? Good morning. It's again, they're kind of, now we've got an acoustic, now we've got marimbas, and now also we've got that kind of organ that is like a sort of proto synth, isn't it? That has that kind of horn sound to it, that kind of French horn type sound. Clearly, I can remember keyboards in those cases having those embryonic sounds on them, and they probably only work within one octave. There was one octave where they sounded all right, not brilliant, but all right. But then if you went somewhere else, they didn't sound like it at all. But so again, it's that change, the change of dynamic, the change of sound completely, having an acoustic and having the organ and having the organ does, and then, as you say, that kind of impressionistic electric playing chords underneath the solo. And and you've got your drop down stuff, just have the bass and the marimbas and the drums. We haven't had marimbas before, and they add a kind of Latin feel to it, kind of thing. But 9 out of 10 for me, never a skip. It's again, really interesting track. I've really enjoyed listening to this record because of that diversity. That's been the key thing for me. The next track
comment there by Nelson. Today, this would have been a radio player for sure. 10 out of 10 if they could have stayed together. I was floored by She's Mine, She's Yours. It's raw dog shit. Yep.
Yeah.
It's
interesting, isn't it? Yeah. It's interesting how good, as I say, I've never heard this before. I've never kind of, and it's really interesting that there are so many bands like this that you probably haven't heard of that actually produced really good records. Really good records and worthy of our attention, really, even though they're quite niche. But I think interesting if we could point the way to people, go and listen to it. Some people will like it, and I think that's pretty cool.
Awesome. Okay, guys. Chicago Northwest.
Side
It's
two.
not it's not a cover. It's a band song. And I'm going to read my notes here. I've got wow underlined. The intro. I've got some Southern soul coming through on this. There's some, and I'm going, Simon, Rock Professor, I'm going, wow, I'm loving this. And then I click. And there is immediate reference to my memory to You Ain't Going Nowhere by the Byrds and Bob Dylan. I went and listened to that on Sweetheart of the Radio, which came out a year before this.
Yeah.
And it's remarkable the similarities between this version of the song and that great Byrds song, You Ain't Going Nowhere. It's just fantastic. So again, as I said at the top of the show, guys, this is an album that's been influenced by other artists a year, and we've got some more connections later on to talk about, but that's certainly one connection I think I'm on the money with. The lyrics of the song are very topical today. When you talk about the political situation that's happening with global warming, climate control, expansion into North America, what's happening, what happened to Indigenous peoples. It kind of spooked me because this song would fit very, very, very squarely in a lot of the issues today. And again, Simon, these issues that we're talking about aren't just related to today. They're issues that go back a long, long time, So, and rock and roll, God bless its soul, has been talking about these issues for a long, long time, Simon. So that's one of the reasons why we love rock and roll, because it is about issues. It is about agendas, good agendas, mind you.
Yeah. I think those things are really important in 1969. That sort of thing is,
Well, yeah. And the connection obviously in 2022 too. Love the cowbell. Again, the cowbell is really, really, really important for a lot of the bands around this time. Again, the Stones did it. This song swings, that tasty slide coming through. And the last lyric at the end of the song, it's the American way. Simon, I'm going to give this 9.5 out of 10. It's a reflection of a song that I know very, very well, and I don't think it's a bad thing that they've borrowed something off the Byrds. I think it's great. I think it's fantastic. I think it's exactly what you should be doing, and because of that, I'm going to give it a 9.5.
Yeah, it's it's of its time, isn't it? It takes the influences that were around at the time, that kind of country sound that it has at the beginning, but driven. But the interesting lyrics about the trains coming and bringing civilization is really cool. Yeah, I was too was really struck by that as a set of lyrics. In 1969, that kind of awareness that what the railways brought to the Midwest was a two-edged sword, in many ways, which makes it really interesting to to listen to. I love the acoustic. I love the two guitars playing the twined riffs. Again, that kind of twin guitars thing with the and the cowbell. Never, can't have too much cowbell. And the fact that it's one of the songs that has this 1-4-5 structure on it, kind of thing. Great harmonies as well in the chorus. It's good, tremendous singing and impassioned vocals by the singer. A 10 out of 10 for me. Never a skip. I think it's probably one of the standout tracks on this record. Absolutely. And I think, that's the music and also the lyrical content as well. Putting the two things together, I think, I thought probably the most interesting song on the record. Anyway.
Awesome.
Yes.
I think it's important too to listen to the lyrics too if you can, and we often talk about lyrics probably being more important to a song than the music.
I tried. I couldn't find them on the internet. No, nobody seems to have transposed them or written them out or done anything with them at all. Extraordinary.
No, but the good thing though is that they are, what's the word? Intelligible to the ear. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it's not like Michael Stipe from R.E.M. singing, "Call out around the nation, take a break, driver 8." And I love Michael Stipe.
Michael Stipe I've ever heard.
Yeah. I love Michael Stipe.
I love Michael Stipe.
Train.
I've met Michael Stipe.
Wow.
One-upmanship.
You have to tell us about that. Train. Wow, wow. Wow, wow. Wow, wow. Wow, wow, the wow, wow. In the intro. Love it. Love the wow, wow. Fits really, really well. It's great. Simon, I'm smelling the coffee when I hear the wow. I think I'm... And then these horns come in. And, they just don't do it for me. They just do not do it for me. Then there's a tasty little hot lick on the guitar, which is not bad. And I'm going, wow, this is okay. At the 220 mark, you've got this wonderful interplay between the bass and the guitar. You can hear the bass, and it's great. And then what's really interesting for me is that the horns are much better when they're in the mix the second time. So I don't know what's going on there. I went and listened to this song at least half a dozen times to maybe it was my cans, maybe it was my but there's definitely in my ear something about the horns and that first solo, which just no bottom end, and then it just gets better. So I don't know what they've done there. Simon, I'm going to give it a solid 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah, the thing I took from the horns, and I didn't feel like that about horns, that I don't know when I was listening to it. Certainly in my car, they were full and throaty, and for me, they were imitating the sound of a train, weren't they? That wah, wah, kind of, that's a kind of imitating. So I didn't feel like that. I didn't feel as though, I don't know what you were listening to. Yeah, it's funny you said that about two tracks, didn't you? The horns not sounding that great. Whereas I thought they sounded fine, to be honest. I'm not saying that. That just says my ears are gone, but it's quite possible. But I thought it was great. I thought it was another great track. I love the wah-wah guitars. That's you can't go wrong with a wah-wah, can you? It's got that strange kind of falsetto vocals on the last line of the verse and stuff. A couple of breakdowns as well. Usual kind of late 60s dynamic devices. We take it down and then we bring it back up again. Kind of thing. That's a classic technique that people used then as a dynamic thing. 8 out of 10 for me. Never a skip. No, it was good. I think it,
Awesome.
I think it's kind of the second Train song in a row kind of thing, and I think it suffers a little bit from that. But 8 out of 10 for me. Nelson's on 7. That's about the same area. Yeah.
Nadine, almost obligatory, isn't it, for skinny English guys to record a Chuck Berry song?
Yeah.
It's almost as if they have to do it. And again, we don't bash them for doing it. We do not, because by gosh, some of the versions of Chuck Berry songs that these guys have done over the years, Simon, has been fantastic. And this is one that's interesting. So the intro is nice. I love the intro, and I'm just going. I'm hearing this MC5 vibe going on with the way that the guy is singing. And it's like go and check out Kick Out the Jams by MC5, and I'm going, oh really? Okay, so this light goes off in my mind and go, oh my gosh, Andrew, you've made a connection, fantastic, brilliant, I love it. And then I want it to rock out. I want it to go nuclear. But these bloody horns come back again.
I knew this was going to come. Yes.
and kill what could have been a rocker. The rhythm guitar is brilliant on the song. You can hear some crunch coming through, which is good. I want to bite into that chicken, Simon. I've just had a couple of chips and the chicken meal's not there. 7 out of 10, Simon. 7 out of 10.
Oh, fair enough. See, I thought those horns were really good at that point. Bernie, the bit they do, that's a little 2-note riff they do. Well, I agree with you, but it is heavier, isn't it? But it keeps the original Chuck Berry rhythm to it, which is interesting. But yes, much heavier driven guitar playing the riff. I thought the horns were great. I thought the horns did exactly what they're supposed to do, which is give it another dynamic, and they play another bit of it that I thought was pretty cool myself. That slide into it is I thought it was good, and I like the falsetto vocals as well. That was good. For me, it's 7.5 out of 10. I mean, because it's another cover of Chuck Berry, and I understand why they did it, because those days that's what you did. You covered, so your encore was Nadine by Chuck Berry kind of thing, and so that's how those things worked. But I thought it was just fine, to be honest. I didn't feel like I don't know what you were listening to. Your cans must make the horns sound really weird or something, but I didn't get that impression at all. I don't know about people in the chat whether they feel the horns. I've not seen anybody else talk about the horns. Anybody else listen to it and think the horns sounded bad? I certainly didn't. I think maybe do you think some of it is because clearly they haven't got a horn section, they're using the sax to do the horns? And do you think that the sax doesn't quite do the same as what say a trombone and a trumpet and a sax would do? They're not quite the same. You don't quite get the same thing out of them as if you play a sax and you play 3 different parts on a sax, you get a kind of approximation of it.
I think the song would have been much better without horns full stop on it. They were giving us a clue of where the song could go, and it was almost like they've just slammed the door in your face. And I'm not critical of horns at all. Horns have a place in rock and roll history, but for me, they just on a lot of these tracks on this album just don't quite work. Are you satisfied? Wow. Again, everybody in the chat. So I'm listening to this song and I'm going, I've heard this before. I've heard something. What's going on? Factory Girl by the Rolling Stones. So again, Beggar's Banquet came out, I think 68. 68. This came out 69. So clearly these guys had been listening to Beggar's Banquet, and why not? Because it was a phenomenal album. It was a masterpiece, and everybody had been listening to it. So for me, it's definitely channeling that Factory Girl vibe. I love the upright bass.
68. Beggar's Banquet came out December 68.
Yeah. I love the upright bass. It's fantastic. I love also the vocals. The vocalist, he's acting as Mick Jagger does. He's putting on a character in his voice, and it's musically a very interesting song. And again, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing that they are being influenced by one of the greatest rock and roll albums ever in the world. And because of that, I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10, because it's a reinterpretation of a great, great album.
Yeah, yeah. It is an extraordinary track, isn't it? Coming after Nadine, it's like a contrast is the word I'm using. I think that kind of atmospheric vibe groove that has just propelled by that Zuiro thing and the just and the mandolin that comes in, it's very kind of different vibe to what's gone before. Much more kind of jammy, much more kind of spacey, literally spacey, with those kind of declamatory vocals as well. Are you satisfied? That question, are you satisfied? And then the lead singer he does that rap, doesn't he, against the man in the middle of it as a thing. It's I think it clearly a bit of its time kind of thing, but nevertheless, that I found it kind of quite mesmerizing. Driving along, you've got that kind of just gentle vibe to it with the vocals going, "Are you satisfied?" It's it's got mandolin solo. Again, a very different feel and dynamic and vibe to what we've had previously. I think it again 9 out of 10 from me, and never a skip. I think it's drew me in, and you can you can see that in 1969 after a few jazz cigarettes you'd be well into it. but yeah, really great, and I think that's one of the great things about music from this period, is that people felt no thing about just having this sort of track on there, kind of quite vibey, quite jammy, kind of, sort of spacey, spaced out stoner kind of track. Yes, absolutely. And that variety, I think, is one of the things that makes albums from this era, really, really cool, and really enjoyable for me. I mean, they are a thing. They are a particular thing, and I can understand that they're a long way from what music is now. I mean, absolutely, think that's the case. But yeah, if you want to go back and get some vibe and get some things, this sort of track is fantastic as far as I'm concerned. 9 out of 10
Awesome.
for me. Yeah, great stuff.
So according to Spotify, "Walking Down the Highway" is a bonus track. So I've scored it, and I'm glad I did.
Me too.
Because "Walking Down the Hallway," finally we get some guitar lead, and boy, we get it with some bite. Finally, we've had glimpses of it, on a remarkably interesting album. And we get it with this. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I have to pull out the biggest banquet thing again. Dear Doctor vibe by the Stones going on here. It's again, the vocalist is in character, and it's something that obviously a lot of bands were doing around this time. It's very, very good. We've got some nice swing. Finally got some swing. And boy, it rocks. I've got a comment here. It's underlined. The best horns. I've complained about the horns on a lot of the tracks not quite working for me, or not quite sounding right. And I've found out why. It became apparent to me when I listened to it. The horn player isn't a Bobby Keys, and for me, in my simple musical mind, when I hear of the sax in particular, I'm always going to default back to Bobby Keys, for good or for bad. And I think that's one of the reasons why the horns didn't work for me on the previous songs, because there just wasn't some punch coming through the reeds. On this one, they do. Now, whether or not this was recorded somewhere else, Simon, or recorded by somebody else, or it was a different instrument, I don't know. But the horns certainly do sound a lot more midi, a mid punch. I love it, Simon. 10 out of 10.
Oh, excellent. Yeah. Yes, it's another groove tune, isn't it? It's got a, it's kind of quite a funky riff underneath the main guitar, and piano as well. It's the first track with a piano on it, I think. I didn't spot a piano or anything else. Cool falsetto vocals, take it right up. Again, I've had no problem with the sax on this record at all. So I didn't have anything else. I like the fact that it it drops out and the sax plays with the keys at the end and things. So really cool vibe to it. 9 out of 10 for me, and never a skip. Again, I'm glad it was on there. Really glad it was on there. As an extra track. Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah, I'm glad it was too, because I think it just it bookmarked it for me. Now, if you guys were aware of the show that we had last week, when the Rock Professor and I were on, and if you're watching a replay and you watch the rankings that we did on the Stones 12 by 5, I think what's interesting for the album that we did last week was that album was really, really important for other musicians, and I won't give you the list of those musicians. Go back and watch that, because we speak about them. But clearly, in my research on this album became really, really important for a lot of 70s guitar players too, not necessarily for guitar playing as such. It wasn't like Eric Clapton with Cream, where they had to go Rock Professor and study it lip for lip. What this album did, from the limited bit of information I picked up, was that it gave a bit of an idea on how you were going to orchestrate things if you were a band leader, how you were going to put things into perspective from a musical point of view, because there's a lot going on in this album. The Rock Professor's named it all. You've got mandolin, you've got keyboards, you've got piano, you've got the marimbas, you've got obviously a saxophone going on, you've got a steel guitar going on, you've got a guitar player, a bass and drums. So there's a lot working on this album, and by gosh, they do it well. It's great. It's a great album. It's a great testament to 1969. I would thoroughly recommend this album for anybody to go and listen and study.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that that it is an album of its time, and I think there were lots of other records made that are like this. Yeah, because in 1969 people are exploring the musical possibilities with what they've got. There are no, there are no limits. There are no boundaries over which there's no genres really. People just played music that they liked, and
Awesome.
they could. Hack, how you doing? I've clearly been out gigging. Hope it was good. But I think that it has keeping lots of those records, and I think that it's one of my favourite things about the late 60s, early 70s people making albums, is they felt no restrictions to do anything they liked. So you can have a Chuck Berry cover followed by a stoner kind of vibe, followed by a funky track, followed by a much rockier track. And that's what people liked, and that's what people expected in those days. There wasn't, I think it was only later that, it started to get more homogenized in terms of guitar sounds, or in terms of, you'd have a guitar sound for an album, or you'd have the album would have very similar tracks all the way through, when you get, later on. And whereas I think these days, just going, it was good. Cat, well done. Lots of people, I hope, dancing. I've seen some film of his group, the Hit Disturbers, doing really well, which is fantastic. But
awesome.
So I'd recommend albums. This album completely. As a little nugget. Not a very well known one, but a nugget nevertheless, and definitely worth investigating, and definitely worth, because it is a picture of the time that it was made. in terms of those things, dynamics, and in terms of instrumentation and what people used and what people's influences were, and what their kind of lyrical concerns were as well. I think it's it does all of that in one record. It's not very well known. And I'm really pleased that you chose it, so that I could spend a week with it and more. So
Awesome.
thank you for that. It's been really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. It's interesting you should talk about musical directions for albums, because if you guys go and have a look at the channel on upcoming shows, go and hit the reminder button, because we've booked Guitar Hack to come in on a Zoso show to talk about Led Zeppelin 3. Now, we all know about the history of Led Zeppelin 3, it has its own mystique, doesn't it, Rock Professor? It has its own controversies around it. So,
Yeah.
so we look forward to talking about that. But albums from bands, as you said in your conclusion, it's about leaving some directions of where they've been, and maybe giving you some directions of where they could have gone. And as I said at the beginning of the show in the introduction, I read a review by a guy called Chris Hunter. I think it's Chris anyway, certainly, who is a respected English journalist, and he said, what could have happened with this band had they stayed together? And boy, I have to agree with that comment.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that was their problem, wasn't it? That as Nelson said, was it 24, 25 members, and and you can't really sustain a career if you're just changing the whole time, and the nucleus of the band is changing. They make another album and 3 people have gone, and you don't have a continuity here, which is important. Led Zeppelin, 4 members. But
awesome.
Yeah. So really looking forward to that show with Hack talking about. That's going to be about Led Zeppelin 3, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So go and hit that reminder button. And speaking about reminder buttons, we're going to be here during the week. We're going to be talking about the 50th anniversary of Exile on Main Street. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to jump on, the Rock Professor and I, and we're going to have a couple of guests. And we're not going to rank the tracks, because we've already done that. If you want to go and check out the channel, we've already ranked that album. I think we did that over 3 shows, Rock Professor. So another marathon project by the channel. But we're just going to celebrate a great album and its birthday. It's something that we wanted to do for a long time. Jump on and celebrate these albums on their actual days. Look forward to that, Rock Professor.
Yes, that's on Thursday morning, isn't it, for me?
Yes.
The 12th.
Yes. So
like yeah.
jump on, and we'll hang out. If you guys are watching a replay, and we certainly do appreciate everybody that does watch our replays, you guys are awesome. Please share our channel on your social media accounts. We do appreciate the fact that you guys have been doing that and helping our channel. Rock Professor, what are we, 2,200 members now? Something like that?
2,130 something.
Oh, okay.
Good. 2.13.
Yeah. We're getting there. And that's obviously the hard work of the people that support our channel.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really, really fantastic to have gone so far in such a short time. It's brilliant. Really brilliant.
I just want to ask Hack something quickly. So, Hack, when your channel got 1,000, did you notice a substantial increase in subscribers because you were pushed up in the algorithms? Do you also add tags? Do you do the YouTube tags to your videos? And do you not use hashtags? I'd be interested, because your channel is growing too, if you don't mind.
Yeah. we'll see. Yeah, so yes, the growth has been fantastic. I mean, I think we've got some epic shows coming up, as you say. Exile on Main Street.
Yeah, we've got the gig, the Corner Bar gig, also as well coming up.
Yeah.
The Rock Professor is going to pick an album for us to rank next week, so I look forward to that. He will release that, and we'll do some community posts when he's made that decision. When he's looked at the crystal ball,
the list.
he puts his magician's hat on.
I
He
have a
gets his
list.
wand.
Yeah, I have a list. It's not good. It's not a good thing. Oh dear.
Speak to me. Speak to me.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. But, yes, I closed my eyes and I pinned the tail on the donkey, pointed which one are we going to do. So we'll see.
Okay. Heck, don't use hashtags. Minimize your hashtags, because we used to use a lot of hashtags. YouTube don't like hashtags. They like their own tags. So try that. They reckon if you are going to use a hashtag, use one every 3 videos, because apparently the algorithms don't like them, and you might push your videos. And one other little experiment that we're going to do too. I've mentioned Beggar's Banquet a couple of times. So we've ranked the Rolling Stones' Beggar's Banquet. Go and have a look at that, because the Rock Professor and I, when we've spoken about albums in the past or specific subjects, those albums have had a lot of hits, haven't they, Simon, during that week?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, loads. Johnny Heartbreaker prefers hash browns.
Who doesn't?
Who doesn't?
Who doesn't, Johnny?
And why wouldn't you?
Thank you, Johnny. Thank you for being a channel member too, brother. We appreciate that.
Yeah, that's really cool, Johnny. Thank you.
Our channel membership will be transparent. I promise you that. We're not here to supplement incomes or anything like that. We just want to get anything that we can with the channel and give it out, as the Rock Professor said, with giveaways. That's what we want to do, But if we could fund the StreamYard's subscription through YouTube and our YouTube Premium account through the channel, that would be great, Rock Professor.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. Yes. I'm busily cancelling my villa in the south of France. I mean, not anytime soon. Yes. That's no, that's right. But it's morning, Terry. Terry 3Gs. Good morning. How are you? Nice to see you. I hope you're good.
Hash browns means something different. Good to see you, Terry. Good to see you, brother.
You'll be pleased to know, Terry, hash browns are those potato things like they are anywhere else.
Yeah.
Hash brownies, on the other hand, could be something slightly different.
So we were just talking about hashtags, Terry, and you'll know this, being involved in a lot of YouTube channels over the years. YouTube don't like videos with a lot of hashtags, and I think we've maybe proven that point with some of our videos, Rock Professor. Johnny Bing.
Yes. Yeah, that's really interesting. Yes, in fact, pass that on to the community. They don't like hashtags, not too many, or not at all.
Yeah.
But, so what do you put instead of saying hashtag Led Zeppelin? What do you put instead?
Well, YouTube, when you go and edit a video, they give you an opportunity to add their tags. So you just go in and you just go in and put keywords like Led Zeppelin,
Led Zeppelin, then it'll come up with it, and you choose them.
Yeah, 5150 show. So you use their tags. They like that.
Yeah. Yes, interesting. Okay.
Well, Johnny just got done.
Just got done. Johnny Bean's been playing Grand Theft Auto.
Oh, all right. Well, okay. I was thinking of something completely different.
GTA. No, don't panic. Don't panic. It's all good. So yeah, that's that. Good tip from Mr. Walton. Yes, I don't know. I've got the list of things. I should choose something off my list for next week.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you for hanging out with us. We do miss Brad, and obviously Alan. His mum hasn't been in the chat. We do give our best regards to Brad, and we want him back. I'm sure everybody does. He's fighting. He's going to do the best that he can. Go and check him out on Instagram. He's put some posts on Instagram, folks. I'll put up his address there. There he is. Where is he? There he is there. Check out Brad on Instagram. There he is. Easy to find. At Brad Cook Music. Go and hit him up there. I'm sure he'll be keen to hear. And also, if you want to check out his music, go to his website, www.brad-cook.com. Go and check out his music there. You guys want to support the channel on Patreon, there's an opportunity to do that too if you want. But we would prefer, if you're going to support the channel, to support us here. Join us here on our channel memberships. But if you wanted to support us over on Patreon, easy, just go and search 5150 Show.
Yeah.
We'd love your support. And like I said, any funds that come through the channel, we'll be doing monthly giveaways. Look forward to that. Rock Professor, I'm going to get you to do the last shout out.
I'll do this last shout out to the guys in the chat. So we'll scroll back to the beginning roughly. So Tim Thomas, thanks Tim. Nelson, of course, thanks Nelson. Greta Zeppelin, Helene O'Hara, thanks Helen. John ZD 351, getting in training. Johnny Heartbreaker, of course, thanks Johnny, good to see you. Fruitcake Tony, Mitch, of course, Mitch Harmon. So thanks, Mitch, for dropping by. That's really cool. Good to see you. Robert Ranford. Yes, fantastic. Johnny Bean, of course. We got anybody else? Guitar Hack, of course. Guitar Hack. Back from his gig. Glad it went well, Johnny. Guitar Hack with your new Fender guitar. That's very cool. With my books. Yeah. So hopefully I got everyone there. Oh, Terry, 3Gs. Nice to see you, Terry. Nice of you to drop by. It's really cool too. Hope you're well. So yeah, thanks all. Have a great week, and we'll be back next week for ranking the tracks of another album.
You're right. He was playing Grand Theft Auto.
GTA.
We'll be back next week, but we'll be back during the week. We might be back during the week twice. We might be doing a live stream with Hoss from the studio, doing his wet, dry, wet rig. So,
cool.
yeah, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that notification button. But when we work out or get that time sorted for the wet, dry, wet run through for the Corner Bar gig, we will do the best that we can to advertise that to make sure that you guys can see that in vivid living color live.
Vivid living color.
And Hoss, make sure you charge your phone this time, bro.
Oh dear.
He was doing a tour of his pedal board and his amps yesterday, and his phone went dead.
It's like leaving the sound up on YouTube, isn't it? Just go and do this half-an-hour video. I've got 2% on my phone. Mr. Hosford, honestly.
Yeah. All right, guys. We'll catch you later. See you in a couple of days' time.
Fantastic. Cool. Take care, guys. Have a good week, all.
Where's this video? There it is.